to the Paranormal Pendle podcast, coming to you from the heart of Pendle Witch Country in the northwest of England. My name is Craig Bryant, author, investigator and collector of stories. Join me as we take a journey into the paranormal, UFO sightings, cryptozoology and big cats. This is the Paranormal Pendle podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Paranormal Pendle, broadcasting to the Paranormal UK radio network at paukradio.com. On this episode, I talked to paranormal investigator from Clitheroe in Lancashire, Diane Pate. Hi Diane, thank you very much for coming on today. I'm really looking forward to this. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into the paranormal?
Certainly, Craig. No problem. We've lived in Clitheroe for many years now. I've always lived in the area. My husband and I both are into the paranormal, and we also have mediumship qualities, gifts in a way, different ones for different things. It's quite hard to explain, but we do sense things, we do see things, hear things in that way. And I think it's just gone on sort of like an event, what we can find out, feel and investigate, and just taking people along with us with RVSW. Okay,
that's great. So you have a Facebook page, which is the Ribble Valley Spirit Watchers Paranormal Investigations Group. So could you tell me a bit about how that started, how many members you've got, what sort of investigations you do and so on?
Right. It started off first as just a little group, a little closed group, when we started off doing mediumship and also going around places, trying to get photographs, video, that sort of thing. And it's sort of like got quite big for the group, and I wanted to try and keep that small for more the mediumship. So we moved on to the page, and we thought, we're getting some really good stuff here. Let's put it out to the public and see what they think about it. There's so much over the years now that has come into play, from photographs to video. My speciality is EVPs. So, of course, I always have my EVP on me. I never go anywhere without it. And we've got some amazing voices and captures with that as well. And we just thought, let's put it out. Let's people see what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and just let them, everything we do, I can promise you, use the real clips that were taken on at the time and the real photographs. From that, we've got a lot of people following us, and a lot of people have actually come with us on investigations to different places, and had some amazing invests over the years.
I'm really interested actually to hear about some of your investigations. Now, I know when we swapped messages to set up this meeting, there was some that you mentioned you'd done in the town of Accrington, which is the town that I was born in and grew up in. And you mentioned there was two actually. One was Warner Street, which I believe is a particularly haunted street, and I'd really like you to tell me as much about that as you can, if you don't mind, please. And also, you mentioned an entity known as Josiah, and again, I'm really interested about that. So, do you want to start off by telling us about the Warner Street investigations?
Certainly. We just started. It was around, I think, 2014, maybe, something like that. We'd come together with another team who was starting up, and we started working together. The other team that we were with had already been to Warner Street, and of course, when we came along and started working with them and doing and helping with mediumship with them, they'd arranged to go back to Warner Street, which it was the first time for me and my husband to actually be there. I must admit, I mean, the most I was in Accrington, ever been in Accrington, was on a youth scheme when I was younger, and we were at Armdale House, I think it was, in the middle of Accrington somewhere. Otherwise, I've never really been to or gone round Accrington at all. So it was quite new to us. We were quite excited to see what might be there. We were taken into, I'm not going to name names or anything like that because of what actually went on, and I'm not going to go into explicit detail because I'd rather not, but I will give you some details of what actually happened and went on.
Okay.
We went into one of the shops on Warner Street. We were taken in there. When we went in there, we knew immediately there was something not quite right. And of course, the person there was having things moving around, turning on and off, lights going on and off, and all sorts of things happening. So we worked with the other team. They set cameras up, and we set REM pods, trigger objects, all sorts. Everything was set up. And I just got this unnerving feeling that something wasn't quite right there. But there's a lot of energy on that street, and I think it's to do with ley lines. There is a really strong energy force there. I can't pinpoint it exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of lines crossing or there is something to do with ley lines there. So we went in the shop, everything was set up, and we left it locked up, cameras running, trigger objects there, and went across to another shop which we were having a look at on the street. While we were in that shop, the other shop was locked up, closed. There was nobody in there. Nobody could get in there. There was nothing. One of the team members had forgotten something and went back to the shop on their own, and there was a full baston in that shop. It made them feel quite ill and nearly passing out. As soon as we knew what was going on, we headed over back to the shop for the other person that was there. And such a bad feeling. But we actually got a picture from there of a man in a tall black hat that was actually in the upstairs area of that shop. And for some reason, I was given the name Josiah, not Joseph. It couldn't be Joseph. It had to be Josiah.
This wasn't, when you said a tall hat, this wasn't a shadow man type figure.
Yes, this was.
Okay.
From what the other team members saw when he went in the shop on his own to go and, I think it was to adjust one of the cameras, the static cameras that were set there, something wasn't quite right. When he went in there, he described afterwards what he'd seen as a very tall, dark shadow person that had walked straight past him in front of him. And for some reason, I think it just took the energy out of him, the life out of him, because immediately he passed out. He was white. When we got to him, he was just about, believe it or not, it was on the upstairs. He was just about to fall down the stairs. My husband sort of like grabbed him. And it wasn't so good. It really wasn't. It was white. Things were sort of like everything was going on. The other team members didn't know what was happening, so it's quite a push. But the energy there was bad. It was a bad feeling. It wasn't good at all. Me and the husband, we just said, let's go back to the shop. Let's get out of there for now and just, we'll sort it. It was so weird because there was a lot of spirits around on Warner Street, but this one in particular, I got that he'd been seen before. He's not frightened of being seen. In fact, he's very arrogant that way, but he is quite a powerful entity. And as such, I wouldn't like to go up against him.
No.
As far as I know, he's still quite happily there.
Okay. I was just going to ask you if you did any research at all onto who this character might be.
I must admit, I didn't, but I got other pieces from mediumship that sort of like played in. We got that in the shop, that one area was used as like a spiritualist church or something like that, like seances. So of course it was sort of like that's building an energy up in that place anyway. Doorways are open all over that place, so energy will come and go as it pleases. It's sort of like you were given a warning. You don't mess, you don't go there, because he has, even though I don't like to admit this, and mostly with spirit, you find that, you know, you get frustrated ones, you get aggressive ones, and things. But this one, no, I wouldn't advise anyone going looking for him, put it that way.
Does he tend to stay in that one place, or does he move around from?
Oh, he moves around. He's not static in that place.
Okay. There is a reason why I asked that, because I had an experience in the Accrington Conservative Club, which used to be on Cannon Street many years ago, where I saw a shadow man. Now, you know, I'm not saying that it's the same entity, but it may be. And I'm just wondering if you know, if he's been seen in other areas, and if he's ever been seen around the Cannon Street area.
As far as I could get, I know he's been seen outside. He's been seen on the street. I would probably have to go to other areas to know if he's still around, or sort of like feel the energy, try and get information the way I get it, to see if, you know, he is there. But I do know he moves around, and he's not stationary to one particular building. He will move freely.
Yeah. So do you think he had anything to do with this spiritualist church then that used to be on Warner Street?
I'm not sure. I think that may have opened things up. Maybe not to him, but maybe to others that were on the street. My husband came across a young lad, ran across the road. As soon as we got there, he just goes quiet, and I know when he goes quiet that he's picking up on something. And he just turned around to me and said, "I've got blood on my hands." He said, "There's a young lad." He said, it's the same name as me, it's Christopher. And he says he hasn't done it. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, what hasn't he done? Because I wasn't picking up on him, but he certainly went to Christopher, my husband. And we had a lady who knows things about Accrington there, and some of the other team members, and they said, yeah, that sort of like rings in. So can you get more information? The husband said his surname, it's Hindle. He said, because a couple of days before I was pointed towards a sign, he said, and it said Hindle. He said, and I didn't know what it was for, but he said, it's coming in again now, so it's Hindle. We said, fine. And what went on? He said, the young lad is saying he tried to help her. He found her and he's trying to help her, and he's got blood all over him, but he didn't do it. And the other team seemed to know all about this, which me and Chris didn't. But I think it came out later that there was actually a murder or something that took place on there. Okay. In the house across from where we were, or one of the shops. And it was a young lad called Christopher Hindle that was involved in it, which was really quite weird. Because if we take a step forward, after we'd been at Warner Street, I was taken by one of the other team members to a church and a lovely, beautiful graveyard. And we were having a wander around, just having a look. And I was drawn right to the bottom of the churchyard. And I had to go round right to the bottom and stand in front of this very old gravestone, which was beautiful. It was rounded, very big, very heavy stone. And on it was the name, I think, Margaret Hindle. There are a few others, but the main one. And why there is such bad feeling there, and why things seem to be, how can I put it? It seems to be a depressive area. That there'll be times when people go there and they'll feel so low, or they'll feel very unhappy, or they just won't feel right. And this is down to Josiah.
Can I ask which church it was? You were.
I can't remember because, like I said, I don't really do the area, but it was a local one. And the name, I'm sure it was Margaret, but it was definitely Hindle on the gravestone. Because I was pushed there, and I'm thinking, why am I here? Why have you pushed me here? And when I read the gravestone, I thought, my goodness, that's the same surname. There must be a link or a connection to that.
Was it close by to Warner Street? Because I'm just wondering whether it's St James's Church, which is...
No, I think this was out of the... It could have been Aussie. It could have been Oswald's Whistle. I'm not sure. And like I said, I don't really know that area. I've always been stuck in Clitheroe on the Ribble Valley, really.
That's fair enough.
But it definitely was a link between Christopher Hindle and the lady that was buried there was Margaret Hindle. Or Maggie Hindle. It was definitely, I'm sure, an M. Hindle that was there. It was a female burial.
Yeah.
But there was something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, when you look at the layout of the town centre of Accrington, the bottom of Warner Street there is an intersection on I think it's called Union. No, it's Church Street. And the bottom of Warner Street intersects Church Street, but not too far further up Church Street, there is an intersection with Cannon Street. And as I mentioned earlier on, Cannon Street is where the Conservative Club used to be. So there isn't really that much of a... I mean, you could literally walk it in 30 seconds, I would have thought, from the site of where the club used to be on Cannon Street down to the bottom of Warner Street. And of course, I do know Warner Street. It's quite a compact street, and there are shops all the way up on both sides. So yeah, it's interesting. I do wonder whether there is some correlation between this Josiah and what I saw all those years ago. Did you pick up on any other spirits then when you were doing the Warner Street investigation, apart from Christopher?
The one I said about with my husband, that was Chris Hindle, and some kind of murder that took place there. I'm not sure any other names. I know it was a female that he was trying to help, so it was a female that was murdered or something. But she must have been a bad way because my husband said he's covered in blood. That it's all over his hands, it's all over his clothes.
So I wonder if he was blamed for the murder then.
Well, his words to Christopher were, I didn't do it. He said, I was trying to help her. And that's what was said.
Yeah.
So we can only go off what Spirit says, and Spirit wanted us to know that, he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I can only go by that.
Oh, no.
I must admit, I haven't, when I work with RVSW, I don't look into things. Maybe sometimes after we've done a full invest and I've got all my evidence and I've gone through all my voice recordings and stuff, I may look into it. But we also have historians and researchers with the team. So sometimes some of them are quite busy, but sometimes they'll look into it for us and maybe find out if they can give us any pointers as to what we're getting.
Yeah.
The second time we were there, we weren't completely on Warner Street all the time. We went to another area. Now, I don't know Accrington, but there's like some water that goes under the road, like a little bridge or an aqueduct. It goes under like a concrete little bridge. So there's a stream that goes under. There was 3 young girls that stepped out of that water in white smocks. But I never got time or close enough to find out what information came from them. But they were there. They sort of like walked out of the water. I'd say quite a few years now, but they were all about, I'd say, maybe between 8 and 14 at most. They weren't older girls. They were little girls.
So there's two places really where the River Hyndburn comes through where you can see it, and one is near the railway viaduct, and the other one is near Black Abbey Street.
I'm not sure. There was a piece of grassland, like an area, because we'd gone to a building that was, I imagine it was a factory that had been shut down.
Yeah.
A big building was set back, and then there was grass in front of it, the little stream, which went under a concrete bridge under the road, basically. Yeah. And it was there. I can't tell you what street it was or whatever.
It sounds like it could have been Black Abbey Street, which is interesting because that's where the abbey was originally situated, the 12th century abbey. And there's an awful lot of paranormal activity in that area. I did a podcast a few weeks ago with Eden Forth, who had been doing some research at the Accrington police station and courts. And that is pretty close to Abbey Street and Black Abbey Street. And there's an awful lot of paranormal things going on in that area, particularly with black monks, three black monks in particular. But if it is the same area, which it sounds like it is, the only other one is possibly the culvert that comes up in the centre of the town near where the the viaduct is, where the train goes over the top. But it's been a while since I've been there, so I'm not 100% certain whether that is still open to the elements, as it were. I think it might have been covered over because they've rebuilt the bus station and so on in that area, so that might now have gone. Yeah. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite weird because I said that we felt that there was energy ley lines there, and if there are, it's a sort of energy for any. So it will boost anything. It's there, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just a source of energy, but there will be more seen, more felt. It's just one of those areas that will sort of like, if in a word, attract paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Because spirits do need energy. They are energy, but they do need more energy. It's quite weird. So if they use up a lot of energy, you may not see anything or nothing may happen for a while until energy is built back up. But if you've got a source like that that's underneath, that's a ley line, that's constant energy, you will find more and more and more. It's sort of like there isn't a break where there will be another hauntings or spiritual areas and paranormal areas. So that doesn't surprise me. A lot's been seen.
No, I'm going to say, that would explain why that area is particularly active. Well, Warner Street is obviously a very interesting place. I know that there have been other investigations carried out there over the years, and they've found, similar things to what you found. What other investigations have you done? Have you done any in the Clitheroe area or in the Ribble Valley in general?
There's been quite a few who've been out the area. We've also stayed in the area. We've done one in Clitheroe. I'm not going to name the place. Okay. We got a few contacts with spirit, but we also got, sounds crazy, but we got some smells coming through, quite pungent burning smells in one area. And we couldn't place that to there being a fire or anything, but we knew we smelt that. I'm not going to say any more on that, but it did so happen that we found out a few weeks further on that something had happened in that particular place.
Okay.
So the burning smell linked in. That's as much as I'll say on that one.
It made sense. So what about investigations out to the area then? Other investigations?
Right. We've been to a lot of haunted places. I don't know whether you've heard of some of them or not. We've been to Chillingham Castle. We've been to the Ancient Ramin. Yeah. We've been to the Galleries of Justice at Nottingham, Strelly Hall. There's lots and lots of different places that we've been. We've been in the vaults in Edinburgh as well, and all have spirits and different things happening there. Yeah.
So which are your favourite then? Which was your favourite investigation? What's the one that really sticks in your mind?
My favourite one has to be Strelly Hall. It's one where we got a lot of activity, good and bad. But in spirit, there was people there that wanted to get information across to us. We took a team in, and the team came back with, we've seen this, this has happened, that's happened. It was amazing to see that team of people experiencing things. We got one of the other teams that had been in there that we were working with then had a photograph of white mist on the stairs. They actually got the lady on the stairs. We've got a photograph from video. It's a screenshot of Chris was walking down the stairs with the camera it was on the nightlight, the IR, and he's got the spiritual form of this lady on the stairs. We've just caught the edge of her moving. It's absolutely amazing. But there was scarier times with that as well. Underneath Strelly is a lot of tunnels, medieval tunnels, very old ones. When we went in there, we went down into the cellars, into the tunnels. We have had good and bad down there. There's been, I think they used to keep prisoners down there, so we had some prisoners turn up that may not have been too willing to have us down there. But I think what happened was one part of the team went down there, and one of the female spirits there, because I've been there like 3 or 4 times now, I got to know her. And she sort of like watches out over everybody, and she's quite a nice entity. And when the team was down there, this particular spirit said to them, "Get out now." So the team came up to us and came up to me, and they said, something's going on down there. We've been told to get out. And this. I said, yes. I said, I know. If she tells you to get out, then there's something going on. I don't want anyone down there. Nobody goes back down. Unfortunately, you always get one in a team who decides they know better. And 3 of them went down back into the cellars after I told them it was a no-go area. And they were attacked by something down there, something quite nasty. When they came back up, one of the team members had ripped jeans, and there was a cut and blood. The others said that this member had been pushed to the ground in the tunnel, and they said we were stood back, we were watching, she just got pushed to the ground. So of course they came back up, and that was it. The cellars were completely out of bounds at that point. But there's been so much happening. Like my team, me and my husband both risk assess. And it's not only the physical things that you risk assess, like, there might be slippy floors or this, that, and the other. We've also got to risk assess what is actually there energy-wise, which we do. And if there is something that we feel is not good, then the team will not go there. Unfortunately, on that occasion, I think they learned quite a harsh lesson when we tell them not to go somewhere they shouldn't, really. Well, but everyone was fine. There wasn't any permanent injuries or anything like that from there.
Sounds quite terrifying, though, that, to be honest. Being physically manhandled in that way is I would imagine from an unseen force would be quite disturbing.
It's quite weird because things, you probably know yourself, things can change quite quickly in an area when the energy changes, because both me and my husband feel that, and it does change quite quickly. So it could be 8:00 at night, you're in a theatre, it's fine, you're talking to one of the performers in spirit, and then suddenly it hits sort of like 9:00 and everything starts to change and you feel the energy changing, and then you can get other entities and other spirits coming in. When that happens, you can come across something else. I think in Strelly, that's what happened. The lady in spirit knew something was going to happen, so she warned the people that were down there, get out now. We have the EVP somewhere of that. It was one of my ladies on the team that took the EVP, and you can hear her saying, get out now. So they took the hint and came back up to us. But like I said, we do risk assess for the team and the team members that come with us. Is if we go somewhere and we don't like it, the team don't go there. It's as simple as that. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind going up against things. Neither does husband. We've got sort of like step up on, because we can either see, hear, or know what's going on, whereas other people can't. So it's not right to put them in that sort of position. Yeah. I do know a lot of them say, yeah, I want to be scared. Not like that. You don't.
No, I think there is a difference, isn't there, between there's a lot of investigations that are done, and I've discussed this with quite a few people over the years, that especially a lot of the televised investigations, there is a certain amount of theatrics that go on, but I'm sure that you can tell the difference when somebody is actually physically being touched, or there is something physically in the room which is causing people to feel uncomfortable, as opposed to something which is televised and is for entertainment purposes. Yeah. You can tell the difference, and clearly from the description that you gave there, what happened at that point was very much real, and there was no entertainment value attached to it whatsoever. I'm interested actually in the female spirit that you mentioned. Because you said that you got quite a good relationship with her. How did that feel, and did you find anything out about who she was when she was alive?
Both me and the husband connected with her at Strelly, and there was two ladies. One sadly died there and is still there, and one of them is connected with the medieval cellars, I think. I'm trying to remember the names now. With Eleanor is one of them. I know Eleanor. And the other one, I think she was called Catherine. I think. Christopher, do you remember? Sorry, husband's just here. Yeah. Catherine. So we had a Catherine and we had an Eleanor. It was more Eleanor that I connected with. But Catherine, I think sort of like was the head, or was very high up. And I think she's the one that sort of like goes in and gives the warnings were needed. It was quite amazing, some of the voices. I've got a video from there, which I'll be honest with you, I went to the husband when I found out, because I didn't know he was doing it. I was sat in the lower part of the cellar at Strelly on my own. I knew that things were going on, so I had my voice recorder there, set to record. And I'm just asking out for anyone to come in and talk to me, let me know who they are and all the rest. My husband was way back up the cellars, near the stairs to go back up. And there is an actual guard down there that we've picked up on, somebody that walks and kept the prisoners in touch. And my husband said to him, he said, come on, guard. He said, I know you're here. He said, Di's down there on her own, go and make her scream. And as he said that, he's videoing and I'm EVPing, I'm voice recording. When he said that, you can hear on both the video and my voice recorder that a stone was thrown in the place that I was sat. It hit the walls, rebounded, and I put my torch, it landed at my feet. It didn't touch me, but it landed at my feet. And I'm thinking, what the heavens? And when it came out and I saw the video, I said, why did you tell him to come and frighten me? But I didn't know anything about that, but it did. The stone flew against the wall twice and then landed on my feet. And we have got that video on the page, giving the EVPs and the video footage from it. So somebody was trying to scare the life out of me, but it didn't work.
You mentioned the ancient Ram Inn.
Yes.
Now I've sort of come across that location a few times. It's quite a popular place, isn't it, for people to go and do, televised, recorded investigations. So I'm just wondering what happened when you went there.
The husband, I think, picked up on a malevolent. Trying to say it now, can't get it. Malevolent energy there, and I think you picked up on a doctor. There was a doctor there of some kind. I think he was a different nationality. He wasn't British, and some kind of elemental would be the word to give it. Myself, when I was on the way down there, picked up on an African lady, believe it or not. And it was really weird because she had, the rings they put around the neck to stretch the neck.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like my neck was being stretched. And when we were travelling down, I've got this lady and I'm saying, I don't know what it's got to do with the ancient Ram Inn, but she's coming in and she's African and she's got these rings on her neck, stretching her neck, and she's there. She's there, and I don't know why. When we got in there, we did see that there was some African artifacts which were in the attic, but also we were told that slaves were brought there from different countries. So I sort of tried to talk to her and ask her, and I was given a set of words. Now, I tried to pronounce them as best I could because usually I get different words, some I can relate to, but she actually spoke to me. I'd asked her if she was in the ancient Ram Inn to come into the hallway where I was and come and talk to me. And she said something, I wrote it down, it's very hard to remember, but I think it was Miwelo or something to that. Like I said, I can't remember it exactly. But when we checked with a friend, this was actually Nigerian, and it did mean that they were going to meet in the hallway. It was in the hallway. And I said, you are kidding me. And I was told, no, it was a translation, but it was an older dialect that was being used. And I'm thinking, oh well, I've learned part of a new language. Yeah. But there's certain things like that come up on investigations that, couldn't be known. I had no idea. I'm going down to the Ram Inn and everyone says that there's somebody nasty there and there's all this, that and the other. And a witch or whatever. And then you come across something completely different. I found that in a lot of places. Both me and the husband, you go somewhere and you hear all the legends, you hear all the stories. Sometimes people are saying there when you go there, oh, there's this, there's that, there's the other. And you never, ever really know until you get there what you're going to communicate or connect with.
No. You certainly don't expect
So
expect to come to contact the spirit of an African slave, do you? It's at a location like that, and everything
no.
everything that you've said that happened after it just adds more credence to the fact that was something that really happened.
It's sort of like in each stage that both me and the husband go through when we're, how can I put it? We evolve our gifts, and sometimes it just stuns you,
Yeah,
knocks you to the ground when you figure out, I've done that, I've picked up. I think that the one that the husband knocked the socks off me, it really did, was we went working with the other team, and they decided they weren't going to tell us where we were going up until an hour before we were supposed to get there. And they gave us, at about 7 o'clock, we should have been there at 8, they gave us a postcode. So we had no idea where we were going or what was going to happen or anything. I can tell you that it was in Cone, but we didn't know that at the time. 3 days before that, my husband had done a drawing. He said, I've had a lady come in and she's shown me this and I've had to draw it. And he drew on a piece of paper a building. It sort of like had a tower at one side and it had doors and windows and they were all in place. Everything was there. And he said, I've been told I've got to draw this. I've got to, this is what I'm being shown. So we kept hold of the piece of paper. And turning up in Cone at this, I think it was a Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And lo and behold, we turned up to the picture he'd drawn. It was an exact picture of the building where we were going. One of the other team members had actually seen him draw it. And she was waiting there for us and going up and down saying, can you see what you've done now? Can you see the building? And I just have no words, to be honest. The husband, I think, was amazed at what he got as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for people who don't know, Corn is it's a small mill town, isn't it, near Burnley, which is not too far from Clitheroe. It's really just on the other side of Pendle Hill, isn't it? So, but that also seems to be an area of quite high activity as well. I've spoken to other investigators from that area, and there's an awful lot of both paranormal and other types of activity, UFO activity and that sort of stuff in that area as well. So, you mentioned about ley lines. I do know there are ley lines that cross very close to Pendle Hill here. And I'm wondering whether, the area of Corn has got ley lines associated with it as well. Can you tell us anything more about that investigation then?
It was more, I think, the building we went to, the spirits were more interconnecting with the husband at that point. He had got the lady, I think, who came into him, also came back to him when we got into the building. And she had given that, I think she'd been killed. It was another sort of like murder, quite gruesome. And she'd ended up in a stream, I think it was. I'd need to go through all the details with the husband because he connected with her and linked in with her. And she just sort of like started showing him and telling him what was going on and all sorts of things. And I think we had it validated that yes, there had been a young lass. I'm not sure what time frame it was that had been murdered there, and that she'd come in to let him know different things about it. So it's quite gruesome in one way or another. Sometimes we go to places and it's those that need help that will sort of like pop in, or that they want things to be known. So we do end up getting quite a few sort of like murder and people that have passed on tragically or traumatically that do come in. But then you get sort of like the older spirits that are somewhere that they enjoy being or love to be. And that's more the nicer side of it. But yeah, I can, I'm not sure what the building was called, but yeah, husband's just said it was the Kipax building. Yeah, he's just said it was biscuit factory. I think someone called it Kipax or something.
Okay, that's interesting.
So there was others in there, different entities in there, but to Christopher, she wasn't murdered there, but it was close to there, I think.
So do you help spirits move on? Because you mentioned that sometimes you encounter spirits who don't want to be there. Do you ever try and help them move on?
To be honest, we do clearances. We do help. When we do clearances, they are confidential, and we don't put any video footage or anything on Facebook or anywhere else to do with it. But we have moved spirit on. We've helped find missing people and missing items and different things that we can do with the mediumship gifts that we have. So, yeah, we do a lot of that.
I'm interested in any other investigations you might have done in sort of Lancashire area.
There is one that blew my socks off. Again, spirit do things and things happen that you really don't expect, even though you're a medium and everyone expects you to know everything that's going on. That's not the way it works. I even jump sometimes. But there is one area, I can't say the exact place. I can tell you it's in Blackpool.
Okay.
I've given it the name UTC, and that's what it'll stay as, because we were allowed in there, but the person, owner, etc., there didn't want any information going publicly on Facebook or anything like that, so we didn't. So we haven't given the name properly, but just the fact that it is in the Blackpool area. When we went in there, it's 3 stories. The first story is used. The second and third stories aren't in the building. So we went up to the second story area, and we went into one area where the owner themselves had screwed the door shut because it would not stop opening and closing and making noises. This was not draft. This was somebody trying to gain attention, I think, because he got to his wit's end and that was it. He was just screwing it completely to so that the door couldn't move. So we went in there and we said to him, let us in there, get the screws out that door now and let's see what we get. And he took the screws out. There is no electricity to this part of the building. So we knew then. We went round with the K2. A K2 meter, you probably know yourself, picks up magnetic fields, but it can also pick up like plug sockets, electricity cables, that sort of thing. So we went round making sure that there was nothing it was picking up on at all. And there was nothing. The K2 was not active whatsoever. But once we opened this door, the husband was sort of like hit by a draft straight out from this little area. When we went in there, the K2 went ballistic. It was going mad, and there was nothing in there. No electrical stuff, no nothing. We didn't have the mobile phones on, nothing to set it off, but it went mad. We have actually got an EVP in there of a lady gasping for breath. And we feel that something went on there and there may have been a tragedy there. And that's what caused it. We've never been able to go back to investigate further because, like I said, the owner themselves didn't want that happening again. I think after we'd tried to ease off the activity and find out who was there and what was going on, I think that was it for them then. They just wanted it left as it was. I think he thought that maybe, we were someone, I think had said something to them, but when we got there, we made sure he knew that we were just there.
Yeah.
And, but he didn't want anything going off as to what this building was, because it may affect, the business. So, but to imagine a person screwing a door to because they're so fed up of it opening and closing on its own, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not something I'd ever do. I'd just say to them, do you mind? Just don't me door.
Yeah, it's quite. It
shows how people can get so frightened and so frustrated with spirit, and it takes someone like us to communicate and say, well, look, he's frustrated. He wants you to know this. Now you know this. He's not frustrated. It's sort of like sorted.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had amazing adventures with spirit over the years. I mean, I know I've been talking for quite a while now. I still have lots and lots more things, but I think they'd be for another day.
I think we'll need to have part 2 of this chat, because I think Mr. Husband needs to come in on the next one as well. It sounds like...
I mean, I'll be honest with you, some people don't... And it's like you said yourself, with all the paranormal programs that are on at the moment and all the groups and pages, and some of them are there for fans and entertainment and stuff, and it may not be all the most reliable of sources to see things that really happen. I will be honest, in my years of going through and getting evidence, and I've hardly ever seen anything fly across the room, but that seems to be quite a good one for some of the entertainment programs.
Yeah, it does, and distant knocks and bangs and various other things. It's really, really, you don't get as much as I think people would think you get, but just on the odd occasion you can get something spectacular if you spirit need to know you. So if you go back to a place a few times and they recognize your energy, you have more chance of them coming in and communicating more. Well, it's really been fascinating speaking to you. I'd love to talk to you again. I'd love to do another podcast with you. And I think we've done quite well considering the internet gremlins. So I think for most of the interview, we managed to get what you were saying. So that's always a plus. Thank you very much for coming on, Diane. It's been enlightening, and it's been really interesting, and thank you very much, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much, Craig. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. Please visit my website at www.craigbryant.co.uk, where you can find information about this podcast, my book, The Shadow Man of Accrington, and my ongoing research. You can also contact me through the website with any thoughts, comments, or guest suggestions. Thank you for listening, and remember, keep watching the shadows.